Recently we've been talking about, contributions and the fact that contributions don't have to be code. Did you ever experience any differentiation in terms of you not being a code developer, you're not contributing code? Did you ever have any experience that was not positive about it, or people still struggling with kind of decoupling contribution from code?
Well, I didn't have any certainly, you know, I didn't really have any experiences around that, and that's partially because of the communities I contribute to, which are primarily knowledge sharing communities as opposed to necessarily, creating code as their primary output. So in that respect, a lot of people were doing the same thing as me. So I can't really comment about whether or not that might be a factor in other potential communities or projects where the primary output is more software. Um, However, I will say that my experience is that everyone who was very technical in the group that I worked in, and then in the inner source commons community, there's vast majority of participants are very technical themselves, um, and even with that, they were all very patient and generous about their knowledge for someone like me who was coming in, who perhaps didn't know how to maybe phrase things that would be most resonate with technical audiences. So even though I didn't come from a developer background, they were all very generous with their understanding and knowledge around what that meant and how to be more effective with that audience, which of course is very different. Like if I had come to the community and I hadn't been able to draw upon those experiences, I wouldn't have been able to contribute maybe what I could have. So it is important to understand the language and the norms of any new community you're coming into, I guess. And so I suppose my takeaway from that is less about whether or not I was technical or offering technical or documentation contributions, more about the time maybe it takes to understand the community a little bit more. So I would say, and this is, I mean, it's my general modus operandi anyway. I'm a bit of a lurker, so I'd always lurk a little bit long time before I'd put my hand up to be doing anything. And I suppose again, both in terms of you know doing that, but also then the folks that were so generous about actually sharing their learnings and their understanding of things really helped me, regardless about whether I was contributing software or not. But you need that. You need people who are both patient and generous in terms of understanding that people come from different backgrounds and are not creating a kind of a closed environment. I mean, I've seen that in other communities, open source or not, where people kind of feel like the need to create their own language, where they're heavy on the acronyms and, don't take the time to explain that to a newcomer or anything like that. And it's almost like they're creating a little wall around themselves of expertise that is qualified by the fact that you didn't know the latest TLA that happened to be, in last week's update. So I do think that there is kind of a potential to improve things for newcomers to communities around just making it easier to help people understand a little bit more about that context. Yeah, regardless of what kind of contribution you might be making.